Howdy, howdy, howdy! What's going on? Ladies and gentlemen, ready for a fun night of mock drafting. Always one of my favorite parts of the week. Got a studly, handsome, talented lineup of beautiful folks for you. You can actually see their pictures right there at the top of the screen. Lots of cool strategies I'm sure we'll get to see implemented tonight. And I've actually got a chance to do a few more mock drafts and actually, regular season-long drafts myself in between this week and last week. So got a lot of interesting hot takes I'm ready to throw your way when I see certain players get drafted. You know I'm all about the hot takes, ladies and gentlemen, so I will not disappoint in that regard. Just waiting on a few other folks to join up here, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So while we wait, I am going to tell you about some of our experts that we have tonight. First up on the docket, you see him with his arms crossed, bulging with muscles. Dean 78904, a.k.a. Dean Shavelson. He's a writer and on-air host at Roto Grinders, a compadre of mine, good buddy. I've known him for quite some time, and let me tell you what, he is even more ripped in person. So I absolutely think that you guys should give him a follow on Twitter, and you can check that out on the mock draft page, which I'm actually going to drop into the chat right here. Go right ahead. Go for it. Give the man a follow. Guns like that, it's kind of reminiscent of Arnold Schwarzenegger, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Definitely worth a follow.
All right. Taking a look in the chat room. Looks like we got some anxious, interested viewers here waiting for this goodness to start. So we will go right on down the list here and talk about Mr. Ryan Hodge from ProjectRoto.com. Perhaps the only person who rivals Dean in photographic magnificence. Looks like he's just seen a ghost, the old school black and white photo. I absolutely love the aesthetic he has going on there. And, of course, he's one of the most helpful people on Twitter. I don't think I've ever seen him turn down a question. And hands down, somebody that if you have any questions at all, come Sunday, a start, sit, you're interested about who to pick up off the waiver wire, maybe which defense to start, this guy is there for you. Cannot stress it enough. Just one of the coolest folks on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Hodge, always there. Every time I get on Twitter, there's something in my timeline, him answering somebody's question. Regardless of how dumb or off topic it may be, he's always more than helpful.
Our next up, Michael Pecan from Fantasy Alarm. Goes by the Fantasy Nomad online, and just a really awesome dude. Really fun guy. And as you can see from his smiling picture, he is all about having a good time. He's a member of the FSWA, a lover of PBR, and a huge fan of daily fantasy sports. He's a staff writer at FantasyAlarm.com, and somebody that I think you're going to love getting to know. So give him a follow on Twitter as well. Ryan Forbes is our next mock drafter that we're going to talk about here. Hails from 2mugsff.com. That stands for 2mugsfantasyfootball.com. And the interesting thing about this site is it's all about fantasy football and beer. Let me tell you what. That is a deadly combination, Justin.
That is two of the best things in the entire world. There could not be a better combination.
Yep, I think so as well. All right. Let's head on down here to Nick Ride-A-Canoe. He's been in a couple of our mock drafts before, so he knows what's going on. He's written for the New York Times before, RotoWire, XN Sports, and he does a spot here or there on SiriusXM Fantasy. He's been all over the world. He's been everywhere, man, like that song goes. So definitely somebody that you guys should give a follow as well. Project Roto along with Roto Hobo. It's just two really cool guys. And definitely the kind of folks you want to be asking your start-sit questions on Sunday or just asking for general advice. I've never seen them turn down a question, and they are some of the most diligent folks on Twitter. Next up is Michael Gallagher from Roto World. Good buddy of mine, big basketball brain. The shot chart king. If you don't follow him during basketball season, you're absolutely crazy. He knows a little something about football, though, too, as well. I think he might surprise a few of you. So certainly somebody you should give a follow, and definitely wouldn't be surprised if his team comes away looking absolutely delicious outside of a Matt Ryan infatuation that we found out about last week. Tisk, 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 Mikey. I don't think that's the right way to go.
There's definitely worse ways you can go than Matt Ryan. I don't love the guy, but I mean he's definitely better than a Joe Flacco.
Yep, I think so too. All right, next up is Tony Moriello. Goes by the Tony M online. He hails from Project Roto, Fantasy Pros, Roto Grinders, and the Fake Hockey, so he's been all over the place. He's an FSWA member and another great dude to follow on Twitter. Real inspirational story as well. I won't get into it here on air, but I'm sure he would be more than willing to divulge. And if you wanted to talk to him on Twitter, you can follow him at the Tony M. Just a living inspiration, and I'll leave it at that. I'll leave the rest of the story for you to discover, but a great dude, absolutely great. Next up on our list, we've got Josh Shepardson, our very own here from Fantasy Sports Live. He is a MLB and NFL contributor, and just an all-around, just mind is just crazy, the things that this guy knows. So
yeah, he comes up with some statistics that I didn't even know existed at the time. So one of the most in-depth guys every day. Always writes a daily article during the week for us for MLB, and it's just great stuff. So definitely check that out.
All right, and that rounds us out for right now. Actually, I'm sorry. I forgot one person, the lovely Liz Loza, the fantasyfootballgirl.com. One of our newest additions to the mock draft series here. She actually hosts the popular X's and Y's podcast at the fantasyfootballgirl.com, and she shares a birthday with Mike Ditka. Also a big fan of a good tight end per her Twitter account. So always good to know that there's a sense of humor involved, and definitely somebody that you want to give a follow to as well. She is absolutely full of information, and again, the X's and Y's podcast actually quickly becoming one that I like a lot. Love the weekly videos she does during NFL season 2. They're really cool, really fast-paced, and they've got a lot of cool graphics. I think they look really neat, look really cool, kind of different than what a lot of people in the industry are doing. So definitely give her a follow as well. All right, we'll be ready to get started here in just a moment. Just waiting on a couple more of our participants to get started. So, Justin, tell me a little bit about how you think this first round might play out here. Let's just go ahead and speculate while we wait for that. It's always a just kind of we're just waiting with anticipation to see when that first wide receiver is going to come off the board and if there's going to be a tight end coming off the board in the first round. I think everybody knows who it is, so it's not really spoiling the surprise to say Jimmy Graham been off the board in the first round in a lot of drafts.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much comes down to which running back is going to go first. We've seen Matt Forte in some. We've seen LaShawn McCoy, Jamal Charles. It really depends on who's going first once we get the draft order. I'm a big fan of LaShawn McCoy myself, but I've been hearing a lot about Matt Forte creeping up there, so I'm sure a couple of these participants here might be looking a Matt Forte way. And I want to say as far as wide receiver, it's been either Calvin Johnson or Demaryius Thomas going right around 6th, 7th, or 8th so far in the few we've done so far. So I imagine it'll probably be much of the same there, depending on a preference as well. And you have to think that Jimmy Graham will be going off late in the first round also. I think he went 8th last week, so that seems like the pretty de facto spot for him to be going recently.
What about quarterback? Do you believe that any quarterbacks, whether it's Peyton Manning or Drew Brees, should be coming off the board in the first round?
I personally am a fan of waiting to get a quarterback because I've been reading a lot of good things, and a lot of people think that you can get a pretty decent value waiting till, like we talked about before, the whole domino effect with quarterbacks. Once the first few are off the board, the Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers types, you can get some pretty solid value with guys later than that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a quarterback in the first round, but I'd say if not the first round, probably a Peyton Manning and second or third pick in the second round, probably somewhere in there, and then Drew Brees will probably follow suit not too much later.
Yeah, I think so as well. What about the rest of the tight ends after you get outside of Jimmy Graham? Do you feel like Rob Gronkowski has earned a place in the second round, or do you need to see more from him before you're willing to invest such a high pick?
I probably wouldn't be taking him in the second round, only because you never really know what you're going to get with him as far as health. However, if we're talking pure talent, it's Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski, and then everybody else a significant ways below in my mind. So you got to think that those two guys are going to go in that order, but it just remains to be seen how much a risk somebody wants to take with Rob Gronkowski and the health concerns there, whether they're even there or not anymore, because we all know the Patriots are pretty secretive about these things. So maybe we have a lot of game time decisions in our future with Rob Gronkowski.
And Project Roto says, I'm taking Gronk in the first just so you guys are wrong. So there's that.
Well, now we know that that's not the pick. He's just doing it to be contrarian.
At what point do you decide to stop taking running backs in the first round?
I mean, you like to take those top guys. You got Charles Forte, Peterson. I saw Peterson going first in a couple of drafts there. So I think probably more often than not, it's going to be about those top 5 guys, and then the second round usually has some guys like Le'Veon Bell, which it'll be interesting to see where Le'Veon Bell's going now if with his whole trouble earlier. But I don't think there'll be a whole lot to worry about with him this season at least. Maybe later on, but probably not a whole lot of concern there.
Yep, I think he's going to be just fine. I think it's possible that there's a little bit of an overreaction about this. So,
plus the NFL loves the Steelers, so they're going to be nice. They'll be very kind when that punishment comes down.
We've also got a surprise participant here. Looks like the username is Vacation, but it's actually our buddy Michael. Michael's name is at Fishcake King on Twitter. I believe it's Fishcake King. He might be something shorter than that, but he goes as the Fishcake King around the industry, and he's going to be joining us for the mock draft. So go ahead and give him a follow as well. Hopefully he can drop his Twitter username here in the chat. And as soon as he clicks that he is ready to go, we are going to start this mock draft off in a fury and go ahead and see what's going on in the first couple rounds.
Yep. And Roto Hobo says 6 running backs should go in the first round. That sounds about right. You figure in a 10-person draft, you're going to have 6 running backs, probably 2 receivers, a tight end, maybe 2. Who knows? Maybe with a surprise with Gronk, and then maybe a Peyton Manning there late. So that all remains to be seen. But obviously, you anticipate the first 5 picks to be running backs.
Yeah.
Unless someone wants to sprinkle in a Demaryius Thomas or Calvin Johnson there in the top 5.
Yep, I think we should go with a 0 running back first round. That's what I'm thinking here.
Make that a rule to mix it up.
So, and Fantasy Nomad says, damn, I went from second on the list to second last. Hosed. yeah, buddy, a little bit hosed there. But, you know, I think the perfect spot to be picking this year, honestly, is 4th. The reason I like 4th is because you get one of the 4 elite running backs. Usually Matt Forte is the one that's available there after Jamal Charles, LaShawn McCoy, Adrian Peterson have went off the board. And looks like our draft is starting, but yeah, the 4th spot, because then when it comes back around to you, you almost always get an elite wide receiver.
Yeah,
so,
or a quarterback if you choose to go that route also.
So here we go. Josh Shepardson is on the clock for the first pick. I'm going to say he takes Jamal Charles, but there it already is. So
no surprise there.
Absolutely no surprise there. Liz Loza, the fantasy football girl, she is on the clock right now, so let's see who she decides to go with. Going to be interesting here.
I'm going to guess LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, that would probably be, unless he wants to.
Oh,
Adrian Peterson, there we go.
The brick house.
The brick house. First controversy of the day. Love it. Stirring up the pot, girl. You go. Adrian Peterson off the board here. Absolutely wonderful. I predict Matt Ryan off the board here for Michael Gallagher. I just don't think he can accept the risk of not taking Matt Ryan here and him not potentially being available in the second round.
and we all know that Matt Ryan is in danger of going out pretty quick. LaShawn McCoy, of course, as expected.
Yep.
So you got to figure Matt Forte will probably be the next one off the board there.
And I absolutely love what Fantasy Nomad had to say. He says, I like being at the end because it allows for 2 quick picks and more time to drink PBR. Justin, he sounds like your kind of dude. You guys need to hook up and have a little bit of a drinky together where you watch some football.
Yeah, we'll both try to get down there by the wheel at the end of a draft and then just drink accordingly for the next 7 minutes.
Mike Gallagher said X-rays on Shady's hand. Is this true?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything about that. I better check Twitter and find out if we're missing something.
I was going to say, if it was any news that broke since about noon today, I have been in baseball mode. So there's certainly a chance that I missed anything breaking that happened at practice today.
Yeah, he's going in for X-ray on his right thumb. Return unknown is what I'm saying right now.
That is not good. Absolutely not good. Hopefully it's just a precautionary exercise. And Michael making the big play here, the Fish Cake King with Demaryius Thomas over Calvin Johnson. I'm going to take a second to just kind of let this all come.
I like it.
I've been doing it all year. In fact, I'm going to say something that you guys are all going to think is crazy. All right? I don't care if you think it's crazy or not. Demaryius Thomas is my number 3 overall. I've been taking him after Jamal Charles and LaShawn McCoy all year long. I would rather have him than Adrian Peterson or Matt Forte. And frankly, without Eric Decker there, I see an increase in targets this year, if that's even possible. And I also think he's more of kind of a running back, wide receiver hybrid. He catches so many balls on the line of scrimmage and then is forced to do it with his legs. You're going to get tons of yardage out of him anyway. I love Demaryius Thomas this season. I am not ashamed of the fact he is my number 3 overall.
Yeah, he can do it all. He can go deep, and like you said, he can take those little screen passes, make a guy miss, and just be off to the races.
Yep, absolutely love it. So it looks like we had Calvin Johnson off the board. Boring Dean decides to go with Calvin Johnson. How dare he? What's wrong with him? Eddie Lacy going to Roto Hobo. That's a pretty standard pick there. Lacy in line for a monster year. Ryan Forbes going with Jimmy Graham. Seems like he goes in that 7-8 spot just about every single time. And Project Rhoda saying, we all think you're crazy. Nothing new. I agree there. A.J. Green and Des Bryant in the back of the round. Interesting. Only 5 running backs taken in that first round. And it's continuing the trend here. I like that little pickup on the wheel for Tony. Des Bryant and Brandon Marshall. Extremely nice package to combine together. I have a feeling now that if he doesn't go Alshon Jeffrey or Jordy Nelson, Fantasy Nomad is going to have to go with the next best running back off the board. Who do you think is the next best running back off the board at this point? I like Giovanni Bernard.
I mean, I'm a little bit of a bias on that opinion because as a Cincinnati fan, but I do think that Giovanni Bernard is in line for a great year. I don't know if Doug Martin.
All right, there we go.
Comeback.
I love it. I love the Doug Martin pick. I've seen him making it to the back of the second round, even the third round in some MFL 10s, some My Fantasy League 10s, which of course is what this best ball style draft is, kind of formatted after. So DeMarco Murray, I love that you took DeMarco Murray, Ryan, or Ryan Forbes rather, because Ryan Hodge is the biggest DeMarco Murray homer I have ever met. In fact, at least once a day there is a DeMarco Murray infatuation tweet from Roto Hobo on Twitter. The fact that you just vultured him right there, I'm sure he's seething. He's taken a long time to make this pick. I guarantee you he had his mouth. Not his mouth. Well, maybe his mouth. That's a Freudian slip for those of you following along at home. But I guarantee he had his finger over top of DeMarco Murray, ready to click that button. And now he's forced to kind of swerve, taking the risk with Rob Gronkowski. I like it.
Yeah, and now his avatar looks a little bit angry.
Yeah, I know. It went from looking surprised to looking angry. Ryan Forbes says, what team is Doug Martin on? No doubt a little bit of prodding there.
Are we allowed to call him the muscle hamster?
The muscle hamster.
They didn't like it.
Look, if he's the muscle hamster, can Dean be the muscle guinea pig? Can we run away with that? Roto Hobo was saying from earlier, you are high as a kite, Gabe. Stick to platoon splits and WOBA. Ouch! Wow! Shots fired. Here we go.
Platoon splits and WOBA are a great place to be in baseball season.
They absolutely are. Project Roto says Tony just got the best wide receiver, in my opinion. A lot of people talking about how they would take Dez over Demaryius Thomas and Calvin Johnson. You guys are the ones that are high. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Speaking of high, no Le'Veon Bell yet, so let's see how far down he drops.
And Roto Hobo confirming the DeMarco Murray love. I guarantee he's seething right now that he did not get DeMarco Murray. All right, let's see. Some of these other picks. Peyton Manning, of course, going to Dean. Pretty conventional pick. I don't agree with it in the second round. But Dean, as we saw last time, has a very unique drafting style.
I think he grabbed Peyton Manning in the second round last time.
Yeah, time will tell if it's the right play. And it really just comes down to if you believe Peyton Manning can repeat last season. If you do, then, of course, he's a second-round pick. He's arguably a first-round pick. But the argument this year, of course, for quarterbacks is to wait until the later rounds because there's going to be so little overall differentiation between the point totals at the end of the year that there's not a lot of value in taking a quarterback early. Again, that's assuming you believe Peyton Manning has some regression. History tells us quarterbacks usually throw for about 12 to 15 less touchdown passes than they did the previous year whenever they have a huge year like Peyton Manning did. I'm talking like over 40.
The biggest ever.
Yeah, I'm talking like over 40 touchdown passes. They generally regress back to a normal number. But again, really no reason why that offense can't do it again, right?
And Peyton Manning's not normal either. So if anyone can keep that up, it's going to be him.
Let's see. Fantasy Nomad saying, don't put much emphasis in preseason, but the Bengals' schedule looks very tough. Okay. The preseason strength of schedule is definitely, something that it should be in the back of your mind. For instance, one of the reasons I don't like Peyton Manning a lot, personally, they're playing against the NFC West this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's 4 tough games right there. I mean, all those defenses even.
That's 6 tough
good.
games. You consider the Rams and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
4 tough games. Sorry. Yeah, 4 tough games. Yeah, that's going to be 4 tough games. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a reason maybe to downgrade him a bit. Monty Ball going to Fantasy Trade 411. Our dude, Nick Ride-A-Canoe. He's going running back with Le'Veon Bell in the 3rd round. Apparently, he just wants to get high. So that is a ballsy strategy, Mr. Ride-A-Canoe. I can't say I saw that one coming, but time will tell as this draft develops. And you have officially piqued my curiosity. I am now brimming with anticipation to see who you select in the next round. So I'm going to be following along very closely. Michael Gallagher, I think, gets a steal with Antonio Brown there. In a PPR format, I expect Brown to be a monster again this year. Zach Stacy, a great pick for Liz Loza, the fantasy football girl. She pairs him up with Alshon Jeffrey and Adrian Peterson. Really solid 3 players to start the draft with. And our very own Josh Shepardson, of course, got lucked out, got that 1st overall pick. He's paired it up nicely on the back end of the wheel with Jordy Nelson and Keenan Allen. 2 very strong plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some nice volume guys there, too, as the top targets in their offense. And, I'm a big fan of Antonio Brown, too, like you were just mentioning. I think he's in line for a big year because they really don't have a number 2 option, so he's going to get a ton of work.
Well, Fishcake King, Vacation, as you see him on the screen, thought that he was going to be throwing us a curveball, but that is absolutely not the case because Andre Ellington is my man crush. And I won't lie, you officially have my dream team. Because Demaryius Thomas, like I said, my number 3 overall, clearly my number 1 ranked wide receiver. Giovanni Bernard, who I am higher on than everybody else. I think Jeremy Hill is going to be less of a factor than people realize this year. I think it's a lot of preseason smoke that's being blown, to be completely honest. And Andre Ellington, if he can get 18, 19, 20 touches a game, the dude is going to be a monster.
Yeah.
I don't need him to get 25 or 30 touches a game. Give me 18 to 20 touches a game. The guy is going to be a monster. And he actually averaged more big plays last season. As a percentage of his plays, of the times he touched the ball, he generated a big play. I forget what the exact qualifying yardage total is to qualify for a big play, but the dude is electric. And once he gets in the open field, good luck tackling him. Good luck.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to see him as finally, hopefully, getting his actual volume that he deserves, like he should have last year. Finally getting out of that mess with Rashard Mendenhall that he was in. And then another one of your man crushes there, C.J. Spiller, going off the board there.
It's interesting. C.J. Spiller went in the middle of the 5th round last time, but I'm not really sure if there's anything that has served to make his prognosis for this season look a lot better. But he's coming off at the beginning of the 4th year, so very interesting. The about a 15-spot ADP difference between this week and last week. So if any of you experts want to chime in and let me know maybe what's different about C.J. Spiller right now as compared to last week, I would love to hear it. I personally am pretty high on Spiller. Look, the guy was a first-round pick, consensus first-round pick last year. He busted out, but so did half of the other consensus first-round running back picks. And his was for a reason. He had an injury. It's not like he just didn't perform when he was on the field. He had an injury. The one issue I could see holding Spiller back continually is the offense in Buffalo, the Marone regime. Actually, the Moron regime. They actually have no idea how to utilize C.J. Spiller. If the preseason is any indication of what the regular season might be, and it's not always, oftentimes it's not, but they were running him up through the tackles, which I just don't get.
Yeah.
I absolutely don't get.
And, I mean, you figured the biggest weakness with C.J. Spiller, other than health, was the fact that he wasn't getting enough touches and he was losing goal line carries to Fred Jackson, which I am of the belief that that'll change a little bit this year. I think Spiller will finally get his due, the touches that he deserves, and pay off big time for somebody.
And the Tony M says, I took Spiller now because it is a best ball format. And, yeah, I like that reasoning a lot. I mean, that's solid. You know, C.J. Spiller maybe doesn't give you that week-to-week consistency, but you're probably going to get 4 or 5 weeks out of him that help you, immensely. once he's put in starting up, like 20, 25 fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him a bunch of times last year where he was getting 8 carries for 100 yards, things like that. So, I mean, he can take it to the house at any time.
And Project Roto says, I didn't like the wide receivers left. That's why I took Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that. Looking at the wide receivers that came off the board after, I guess my one question for you would be, I understand the Andre Johnson hesitation. That's certainly understandable. Let's see. I understand that. Why not Randall Cobb, though? I understand that there are reports out of camp and preseason that he's looked ordinary and blah, 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 but do we really place that much stock in a guy who is essentially going to be the Wes Welker for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I just don't know. I like Randall Cobb a lot. Plus, he's got the backfield upside where he can actually run the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Randall Cobb, I think, a lot more than most people do. Arian Foster, dropping all the way into the third round, definitely going to be a huge value for Fantasy Nomad here if he comes through this season and delivers without getting injured. And then looking into the fourth round, the fact that Toby Gerhart went off the board that fast before even the fifth round tells you a lot about the state of running backs this season.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't know what to expect there in Jacksonville, but I think that he's an upgrade from Maurice Jones-Drew because he seems to be a step slow a lot of times. So Toby Gerhart seems that he's finally in that number one role where he should have a pretty nice season.
Yep, I think so as well. Let's see, I'm looking in the chat here. B-Chad, Josh Shepardson says, I can't say I expected Spiller to get back to me, but I can say I hoped he would. Yeah, he seems to be selected all over the map. He is. He's a player that has an ADP that wildly varies from round to round. So let's see.
Roto Hobo saying, first time I've taken a QB before round 8 or 9 all year, and I already hate and regret it. I can't drink this PPR fast enough to erase the memory.
Yeah, that's is unacceptable. Hobo, I should probably boot you for taking a QB in the fourth round, but I do think that there is a point where the late round QB strategy starts to get a little excessive, and Aaron Rodgers is a perfectly acceptable fourth round pick. I actually think you want to hear another hot take?
What do you got?
I'm full of them. I got hot takes out the wazoo. I think Drew Brees is the number one quarterback overall this year. I would take him before I would take Peyton Manning. If we're in the fourth round or the third round and somebody says you have to take a quarterback here, I'm taking Drew Brees over Peyton Manning. And
over Rodgers too?
Yeah. So,
all right. I mean, he just consistently gets it done. I'm just not sure how reliable his receiving core is this year. But we've seen in the past, Drew Brees just finds a way to get it done with whatever he has available. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Ryan Forbes says Sankey pick just lost the draft. Woo. So Shep's got Sankey on his team. Do we even know that Sankey is the actual starter yet? Have we actually heard those words coming out of that regime's mouth, that he is the starter?
I think assumed. I don't know that it's official.
I was going to say, I think it's assumed as well. Do we know that he's not going to be time-sharing with Sean Green? I just haven't heard anything. So, and Project Jordan says, here goes Gaby Bayless. No, I think it's Drew Brees. I do. I like the situation a little bit better. I like the fact that he doesn't have to face. I don't know. I like him a lot better.
Fantasy Nomad says it will be an NFC QB, just not Brees.
Are you going?
Is that a Romo hint?
Are you going Cutler here on me? Maybe Cutler.
Could be Cutler. Could be Foles. Romo.
Yeah, and Project Rotor says Drew Brees was the top QB 2 years in a row before last season. It's not that crazy. Okay, so and Roto Hobo says once again, KB, platoons and Woba, brother, platoons and Woba. I got this. I haven't even looked at my teams tonight to see how my platoons and Woba are doing, and I see also a comment from Project Roto here. It says fair point, Gaby. Just worried Cobb will be broken after 3 weeks. Yeah, that's always the issue with him. So let's catch back up on the draft and see what's going on here. Roddy White went off the board in the first round. I think he and Victor Cruz are both being undervalued at the moment. I think that both of them can have cases made as third-round picks, but they're continually falling into the fourth and the fifth round. I do think there's some tremendous value there. And there's another wide receiver in the fifth round. Larry Fitzgerald, I think, is a steal this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the belief that Michael Floyd is going to be the number one, and you said it before also, but Larry Fitzgerald really hasn't lost anything there. And we know that Carson Palmer is going to air the ball out all the time. So you got to like Larry Fitzgerald still an elite talent.
Yeah. So Stafford is no. Stafford is not. Just get out of here. Stafford is not going to be the top QB until he gets his footwork down and he actually accepts. We hear the same narrative for Matthew Stafford every single year. He's ready to accept coaching. He's ready to get the footwork down. This is going to be his breakout year. Look, the guy has talent, but no, like he's not ever going to be that elite quarterback, and we need to just understand that. I also think that the new regime in town, I think that the ground and pound mindset is going to win out this time. They've got Joique Bell ready to carry the load down the middle. They've got Reggie Bush who can break it to the outside. And they got Golden Tate who can run across the middle of the field, some of those quick hitting routes for Stafford so he doesn't have to gunsling it every time. I just feel like this offense is going to be a lot more conservative than we've perhaps seen in recent years. I don't think that's meaning there's going to be a downtick in numbers for Johnson, but I don't think it's just going to be Matthew Stafford drop back and throw 40 times a game. I just don't think that's what this offense is anymore.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be contingent on Golden Tate and how well he fits in that offense because Stafford, the few times that he was without Calvin Johnson the past few years, just looked completely lost. He just could not get it done without Calvin on the field. So if Golden Tate proves to be a reliable receiver for him there, I think he'll have a good year. But if anything happens to Calvin Johnson, Stafford looks like a lost puppy dog.
I'm looking, just looking at more of him. Michael Hofeld says, Fish Cake King says, Gabe, you lost my team. I loved it all the way until the T.Y. Hilton pick. I despise T.Y. Hilton this year. I wouldn't take him if he was available in the 7th round here.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. There are so many wide receivers I like better than T.Y. Hilton. I can't stand him. He's on none of my teams this year. None, and I won't take him. Let's see, going down a little further, checking out some of our commenters here. Please boot me from the draft for taking Harvin, says Project Roto. Yeah, about that. We're going to need to have a little bit of a discussion here. Percy Harvin, 6th overall. Our 6th round overall. I'm not sure if that's going to cut it. So
it's hard to say with Harvin because who knows when he's going to pop up a headache and not be able to play. So should be some more reps in line for him there, though, with Golden Tate out.
and Dean, DFS Almanac, says Rashad Jennings on the block. So, yeah, that's trading block. Dean, you're looking a little thin over there with only one wide receiver. So, yeah, you might want to consider yourself getting a few more pieces to your aerial attack. Interesting, Cam Newton off the board in the 7th round. I've been routinely getting him in the 8th or 9th round of my Fantasy League 10s that I've been playing in, and what a boon. All the guy does is finish as a top 5 fantasy quarterback every year.
Yeah, you don't even know how sometimes.
Every year the narrative's the same, and it's actually a correct narrative. Not great throwing the ball, terrible receiving core, still finishes as a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Yep. He's just tough and he just makes plays.
And the thing that separates him from all the other running quarterbacks is A, he can get the short yardage in short yardage situations, and B, he doesn't get dinged up. He's not made out of porcelain.
Yeah.
The guy's bigger than most linebackers.
Yeah.
So, looking at some plays we had going off the board in the 6th round, I think Torrey Smith is going to be an absolute steal this year. I love Torrey Smith. In fact, Nick, what were you doing taking Percy Harvin over Torrey Smith, my man? I got to hear an explanation on that one. I'm not liking it. Kendall Wright going to Tony very quietly. Heard some interesting statistics on Kendall Wright. Basically, players that have caught 90 or more passes have never caught less than 5 touchdowns. And on average, I think they catch around 8 or 9 per season, 90-plus catch receivers. So there should be a huge boon for Kendall Wright's fantasy value this year. If he just maintains the status quo of what he did last season, he should at least be in line for 6, 7, 8 touchdown catches, something around there, which is going to boost his value immensely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy that some people are really, really high on, but others are kind of hesitant about. But I'm a fan. I think he's in line for a big year.
Fantasy Nomad says, and I believe Breeze doesn't play every game. I think that's reasonable. Let's see. Fishgate King trying to justify the T.Y. Hilton pick. Nah, bro. Nah. Let's see.
I like Project Roto there. I like doing a Google search for Matthew Stafford. 10% of the pictures are him playing football. 90% of him broing out with hot co-eds.
Yeah, that dude's a bro.
That's so true.
Yeah, and Josh says, I think Gaby likes my Cam pick more than I do. I like the idea of him in best ball more than standard. And Project Roto retorts, Cam has been top 4 all 3 years in the league, Josh. Love it. And despite Flacco being elite, Torrey Smith is not my guy, Gaby. Torrey Smith is the guy. I'm telling you. You want to talk about best ball? How about going for the guy that has a chance to be the dude instead of Percy Harvin, who's made of glass? I don't know. I'll argue that until the end. But I love you, Nick.
Torrey Smith just scares me with volume because I feel like a lot of times he only gets 2 or 3 catches and he's just the deep threat. But we know that Joe Flacco can only throw 1 pass well, and that's the deep ball.
Oh no! Did something just happen to Macklin?
Uh-oh. Chat is exploding.
Yeah. This is turning into FanDuel chat really quickly here. So
it's getting ugly. Well, better Macklin than McCoy.
I'll tell you what I really like are the 4th and 5th round picks as I'm looking here by the fantasy football girl, Liz Loza. Cordero Patterson and Jordan Cameron. Very nice back-to-back picks. I think both of those guys were in line for huge seasons. And Andrew Luck, a solid pick in the 6th round to grab a QB. What is the 3rd?
5th.
5th, yeah. 5th quarterback off the board, which I think is about right. Luck is just going to continue getting better every single year.
So. Yeah, and I mean, he's thrown quite a bit of interceptions, but he's just putting up numbers, and that's what he's going to need to do without a consistent running game in Indy. So I expect huge things out of him.
Dean asking, why does DraftDay think I want to start Julius at my flex? Because it's obviously what you told it. It's not my fault you picked wrong. So, all right. Fantasy Nomad says, quoting Cam's previous year stats, does that really apply? Yeah, fair enough. Can I have my narrative, please? Can I have my narrative cake and eat it too? I'm hungry.
Brandon Cooks.
Did something happen with Jeremy Macklin? People have yet to inform me. I'm obviously watching you guys draft and talking at the same time, so I can't watch football as well. So,
I'll see if I can find something.
Okay, yeah, look that up for me.
I see someone tweeting, that is unbelievably bad luck. Uh-oh. The dreams of all Macklin owners turn to nightmares. Yep, something happened.
I mean, to be fair, if anybody was dreaming about owning Jeremy Macklin, their fantasy football aspirations were not very high.
Yeah. People are saying it looks like an ACL, but it's hard to say. Yeah, doesn't seem like it looks good.
Yeah, I love the Andrew Luck pick as well. Fantasy Nomad. Ryan Forbes says Breeze and Foles. Interesting. Yeah. That's look, I like that best ball combination. If you figure Nick Foles might not be the week-to-week consistency monster and Drew Brees will, then you got to figure there might be some weeks where Nick Foles blows up and you want him in your lineup. But then there are going to be other weeks that he kind of throws an interception or two. It doesn't have those gaudy numbers, and you can just rely on Drew Brees and his consistency that he should give you from week to week.
Yeah, it looks like Riley Cooper's going to get a boost now too if Macklin's really out.
Yeah, Riley Cooper. He'll fight everybody. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He'll fight everyone here in this draft right now.
He won't be able to fight Jeremy Macklin now. Wouldn't be a fair fight.
All right. Let's take a look at some of these other picks that have came off the board recently. Stafford, the quarterback I absolutely hate, but Nomad taking the strong take. And let me say something. All the respect in the world to Fantasy Nomad here. There is nothing more that I like than a hot take. You go, girl. You like Stafford. You take him. You defend him until the end, and do what I do. If it doesn't work out, find a reason, blame somebody else, and refuse to own it. That's my strategy. Yeah. It's been working for me really well lately. So, in fact, it's been working really well for me since I entered the fantasy sport. Just kidding. All kidding aside. But, no, I love it. I love the strong take, and I am of the opinion that Fantasy Nomad is a great mind. I used to do some shows with him at Roto Grinders. He has an absolutely killer fantasy sports mind, and there's a very good chance he sees something that we don't. So if he feels that strongly about Stafford, I am willing to reevaluate my stance on him and at least boost him up a little bit in my rankings.
Yeah, and the shovel pass game is going to be strong with him, with Joique Bell there. You always love those little touch shovel passes at the goal line of Joique Bell.
Project Roto, Cooper is a wide receiver 1 and points per racist comment leagues. So he certainly is. Gosh. Could he have been more cliche when he did that, by the way? From the concert he was at to the shirt he was wearing.
Unbelievable.
Literally could not have been more of a that guy. He was the that guy among that guys. Do you agree? He was He was the that guy to lead all the other that guys.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate situation where you don't do or say or wear those things.
Yeah, that guy to rule them all is pretty much the way that worked out.
Yeah, awesome hair though.
Yeah, and I love the Eric Decker and the Justin Hunter picks here in the 8th round. I feel like those are the two big winners here. I also feel like Trent Richardson in the 8th round is an extreme overreaction. Nick, I absolutely love that pick. I actually have been getting lambasted on Twitter by people who are not familiar with his ADP, his prospects. My fantasy league automatically tweets out your picks, and whenever I take Trent Richardson, as I often do, once his ADP starts to get up near the 80s and the 90s, I got him, I think, in the 8th round earlier today in a 12-man MFL 10 league, which is just absurd in my opinion. That's just phenomenal. I'll take him every time there, close to the 100th pick overall. Sure, sign me up. He's in my lineup. I just love that pick. I think there's a lot of upside there. I think there's a good chance that a lot of his issues were playbook related and he was discouraged. He might be mentally weak, but with a year to actually get it down, I have some high hopes for him this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere to go but up either. So I think that Trent Richardson in a good spot, and he's going to get plenty of chances because he is the guy there. So I don't see any reason why he can't do it unless he beats himself.
Ryan Forbes says, really can't stand behind the Steve Smith Sr. Who's the Steve Smith Jr.?
The guy that played for the Giants. I don't think he's around anymore.
Okay,
I don't know. Maybe that's just how they differentiate.
I love how it's Steve Smith Sr. though. Look, I've heard, if you're a believer of such things, I've heard that out of camp, quotation marks, the reports out of camp are that Steve Smith actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, fighting or playing football?
Look, listen. That's all the farther I'm going to go. The reports out of camp are that he looks good. I think Lamar Miller is a phenomenal pick here in the 9th round as well. You take a look at the players that are coming off the board. It's either wide receiver 2/wide receiver 3s, or it's backup running backs. Lamar Miller has an actual shot, despite how bad that Miami offensive line is, to be the bell cow in Miami. I am not convinced that Knowshon Moreno is going to be a big part of anything going on there. In fact, I think Knowshon Moreno, without Peyton Manning, to make sure he has 5 players up against him when he gets the ball, I don't think a whole lot of Knowshon Moreno at all this year. I think Lamar Miller is a phenomenal pick here by the Fantasy Football Girl. 90th overall for a potential starting running back in the National Football League. It's a great value. Yeah, absolutely great. Kind of along the same lines as a Trent Richardson, and deserves to be a little lower than Richardson as he was drafted, simply because we've never seen him do it before. We've seen Richardson do it a little bit in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, Ruben Randall, I like that pick a lot, as well as Emmanuel Sanders. I think those two picks, big winners for Ryan Forbes and Roto Hobo. Randall, who else is going to be a red zone threat in New York? They don't have anybody. Cruz is great across the middle of the field in between the 20s. He's not a red zone threat by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Ruben Randall is that default guy. If he can work on his hands a little bit, if you remember, last year was just brutal. How many passes he deflected that turned into interceptions.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy cannot...
He should have got credited with plenty of them.
Yeah, the guy cannot hold on to the ball to save his life. So let's go ahead and move down here. I like the Pierre Thomas pick as well. I think that's a pretty solid one.
Oh, yeah, especially with less options, seemingly, in New Orleans this year. He's a big part of that pass game, too. So you got to like him to get some catches.
All right. Love the Zach Ertz pick. I think the Zach Ertz pick is extremely underrated. I feel like if anybody outside of the mainstream tight ends has a chance at finishing in the top echelon of tight ends, like the top 6 or 7 guys, it's Zach Ertz, because that offense was just made for people to go off crazy fantasy-wise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're going to be airing it out. There's going to be balls flying all over the place. He's going to have plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, they're going to be airing it out. There's going to be balls flying all over the place. This sounds a lot like a gym locker room.
Yeah. Way too much.
Lots of airing it out, lots of balls flying all over the place. Kelvin Benjamin steal here. I've heard that he has looked extremely solid. And Kenny Britt, kind of a tired song that none of us want to sing anymore. But you know what? Only 25 years old. Was regarded as one of the prospect to be a top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League when he came in.
Yeah.
Obviously, injuries and attitude have really hurt him. Maybe he gets it all together. Let me tell you something. Jeff Fisher is a rock of a coach. Jeff Fisher is a rock of a man. And if you're going to tell me this guy needs to be in a situation that is conducive to his mental health, I'm going to say that Jeff Fisher is a guy that could potentially help him out in that area, give him some stability
Yeah.
An established NFL veteran coach that commands the respect of the locker room.
Yeah, he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. So
Right.
if something's going on, he's going to say, hey, you're not playing. He's going to shape up quick.
Jay Cutler, my favorite sneaky quarterback right now. I think if anybody outside of the top 10 overall average draft position quarterbacks has a chance at finishing top 5, it's Jay Cutler, and I think it's a fairly solid case to be made. He should be a top 10 quarterback anyways.
Yeah.
The offensive line, much improved. There's no team in the NFL that has a better arsenal of weapons outside of the Denver Broncos, and that's even arguable at this point with the loss of Eric Decker.
Yeah.
So,
and if you ask Brandon Marshall, then Jay Cutler's going to win MVP. So he's in line for a great year, according to him.
Little newsflash, I don't ask Brandon Marshall many things.
Yeah, no.
Never really been satisfied with the answers he gives.
No, I haven't asked him either, but it's kind of hard not to hear something that bold. You got to like his confidence, at least, in his quarterback. Hopefully he doesn't cry about it like Terrell Owens style.
Yeah, it's so I'm going to go back up here. Macklin is back in the game. Breathe. Good. I was holding my breath that whole time. Very talented, actually. I was talking and holding my breath that entire time. So there we have. Trent sucks, Gaby, but he's going to get a crapload of carries. I know, Nick. Dude, that's my reasoning. Like, if I'm staring at taking Trent Richardson or Terrence West, it's Trent Richardson every time, and it's not close. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of, I know that sounds crazy, but that's literally those are literally the decisions I've had on my plate in some MFL 10s today. Or Trent Richardson or Terrence West is my next best running back. So, yeah, I'm going to take
Got to go with opportunity.
Yeah, got to go with opportunity. I mean, he's got a chance to be the bell cow. Let's see. Fantasy Noah says his alter ego, or he wanted to make it seem like he is taller than someone. T-Rich, according to Josh, T-Rich has nice missed tackle number per Pro Football Focus, so I think he's a solid pick where he went. I like that a lot. Yeah, Fantasy Noah said most of Eli's interceptions were to Ruben, right? Yeah, They were. I like if Ruben can get his hands corrected, he is a solid red zone threat, and he's a great wide receiver option this year. Big guy. You know, we're all about the big wide receivers. You know, everybody loves the tall, big, strong, physical specimens. He's got a chance to be that.
Yeah.
See, Josh says, "Damn it, Dean, nice Matthews pick." Yeah, the Jordan Matthews pick is a steal right there. Even though you might be disappointed now, you took him thinking Macklin wasn't going to be in the game, and then Macklin comes back and you're like, "Damn it, why did I take Jordan Matthews?" But look, I believe, as I think a lot of people do at this point, that Riley Cooper's last year was a mirage, and if he wants to stay in the starting lineup, he's going to have to fight Jordan Matthews.
Literally.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it.
Yeah, and they're gonna score a lot of points, so there's plenty to go around.
And Roto Hobo says couldn't decide between Sanders and Ruben. Decided to take the tall guy. Yeah, that's what a lot of people go after, man. As we get more and more advanced metrics on wide receivers, it's starting to become more and more of a science which physical specimens are in positions to succeed and which ones are not. And the numbers overwhelmingly tell a story of large physical wide receivers simply being better options than guys who are listed at under 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
You know, just very rare that those guys make it out to be great players. So, let's see. Taking a look here at some of our other chatters. Fantasy Nomad says, can Britt stay healthy? If so, he could be a sneaky own. I think so as well. Dean says, feel free to compliment one of my picks, Gaby, anytime now. I did, the Jordan Matthews pick. There you go. And then you go taking Steven Jackson like that. What's wrong with you? I'm just kidding. Steven Jackson is fine in the 11th round. That's a fine pick in the 11th round. I kid. Ertz, that is, says Fantasy Nomad. Yep, I absolutely love him. Forbes upset at Gallagher here for not letting him get the pick that he wanted. Josh Everton says Kels. Is that Kels or Kelsey?
I thought it was Kels.
Okay, Kelsey, something like that.
It's probably neither. It's probably something crazy. A Brett Favre type.
Fantasy Nomad says, Gaby going fire Marshall Bill. Let me tell you something. Not even sure what that means. Still sounds hilarious. Oh, man. Yeah, the Jay Cutler pick was a huge steal.
See Marcus Wheaton there, a guy that definitely a lot of question marks there. They're wondering if he can really be the number 2 there since they've been struggling to find a guy to complement Antonio Brown. But if he does, that could pay off big time there in the 12th round. Yeah,
and as soon as Kelsey, is it Kelsey?
I think it's Kels, but I don't actually know. I've never.
Somebody please put me out of my misery and just say what it is.
Kelsey, Tony M says.
Okay, Kelsey. It looked like Kelsey. my ability to comprehend foreign language. I knew it was Kelsey. Marcus Wheaton, a good flyer pick off the board there. Carson Palmer, actually, second only to Peyton Manning last season in passing yards over the second half of the season. They're going to air it out, and he's got I believe, one of the top 5 aerial attacks in the National Football League with Michael Floyd and Larry Fitzgerald. Hard to argue that there's not going to be a lot of love to go around there. The only question with Carson Palmer is, which week are you going to get the 4 interception game, and which week are you going to get the 350 passing yards with 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about best ball is you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. And hopefully they don't both come the same week, because he's been known to do that too.
Yeah. Ladarius Green off the board. Ridley is a steal right there. Look, if he fumbles, he's in the doghouse. But this is another guy that was debatably in the first round last year. Definitely a second-round pick. Fumbled too much. Belichick said, I ain't having any of that shit. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
And sat on the bench for most of the year. If he can come back out and hold on to the ball, Ridley is a steal at that position.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're talking about pure upside guys here, there's not a better guy that was still on the board as Ridley at 12.
And I like Niall Davis getting paired up with Jamal Charles first over there with Josh Shepardson. And the thing I like about handcuffs is I only really like to draft them if the guy would actually be a solid play on his own. Like, if he entered the season as the lead running back, where would you draft him? And I honestly believe Niall Davis would be a second-round pick.
Yeah.
He's actually phenomenally talented. We saw it last season when Jamal Charles went down, and so that's great Jamal Charles insurance on your squad right there.
Yeah, I think he's my favorite handcuff this year because, like you said, the Chiefs really didn't skip a beat hardly. When Charles went down, Niall Davis came in, and he was pretty damn good.
Amen, brother. Danny Amendola could also be a steal here. If he could be healthy for the entire season, which maybe even would be better to say if he could stay healthy for 13 games. That's still a steal.
And that's progress
round.
for him.
Yeah, that's progress. Lance Dunbar, a very good high upside pick. If DeMarco Murray goes down, I believe that was that Hobo that got a hold of Dunbar? I believe so. He stole him from Forbes before he could get to him. Yeah, and there we go. Forbes is upset because the Dunbar got sniped. That's what you get, Forbes. That's what you get for taking his Murray. He's gonna pay you back in kind, my friend. Hopefield says, my first draft of the year, doing my best to keep up, just happy to not ruin it. No, I always love a little bit of wrench getting thrown in there. Fishcake King, was that actually you with the DeAndre Hopkins pick? I think that was him, right? Is that Vacation with the
I think he's...
Oh, he's in the Danny Amendola. Yeah, the Ridley and the Amendola pick. Yeah, no, you're doing more than keeping up, my friend. Those are 2 extremely solid picks.
Yeah.
I like those a lot. That's the way to polish off a best ball team right there in the later rounds.
Yeah.
Looks like Liz Loza loading up on the Carolina running game, making sure she has either one of the 2 players that go off there. So
and that's smart because that is the most confusing situation and in a backfield outside of New England in my mind. And definitely both of those guys in a best ball, you're never going to miss out.
Yeah, and Forbes says, I figured it was a given I'd get Dunbar there to pair with Murray. No givens. Cutthroat.
A taken.
No givens unless your name is Chris and you were terrible for the St. Louis Rams last year. That's the only way you're a givens.
Cecil Shorts, now the number 1 guy since Justin Blackmon can't put the bottle down. So I think he's in line to get some decent yardage this year, some touchdowns.
I really, really like what Tony has done here with the last couple of picks. Devonta Freeman is an absolute upside monster. Travis Kelce, the Seahawks defense, just going ahead and taking it, not seeing anyone else he likes. That's like, usually you don't know from year to year how defenses are going to be. I feel confident in saying that the Seattle Seahawks defense is once again going to be a monster, considering their last appearance was embarrassing, the best offense in NFL history on a neutral field.
Yeah.
So I have absolutely no reservations taking the Seahawks that early. And then you got to love the Cecil Shorts pick. I mean, that's phenomenally high upside right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Seahawks, they've got to still be the top defense, even if they don't quite do what they did last year. Still pretty damn solid.
Yep, I think so too.
Hartline. I like Brian Hartline
I
a lot.
hate Brian Hartline. Get out of town.
I like him late. He's going to get a ton of volume.
Steal alert! Steal alert! Roto Hobo with Kyrie Robinson in the 14th round. I didn't want to say his name because I didn't want to tip anybody off, but well done, my friend. Kyrie Robinson in the 14th round. We're looking at the potential lead back for the the New Orleans Saints. Got confused with the Saints on the mind. What's so funny? What are we laughing at here?
Rifo here. I'm the guy who only does missionary style, as Lord Reeves would say with the Heartline pick.
Yeah, I despise that pick. Not you. I like you. It's not personal. It's me. It's not you. I despise that Heartline pick. Kyrie Robinson, though. I'm going to say it right now. Steal of the draft so far. That is Crazy Gaby's steal of the draft at this point. Kyrie Robinson in the 14th round.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to think that he's a guy that's going to be a huge part of that offense, so definitely getting him late.
Rifo says, Tony M says, I also feel like the draft day scoring format gives big benefits to taking the Seattle defense. And I would tend to agree with that. Darren McFadden coming off the board. Really, just, oh man, have the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Remember, this guy was a consensus first-round pick a couple of years ago. Can't stay on the field. Doesn't look good when he's on the field. Jarrett Boykin, another high-upside pick. He could definitely be a lottery ticket that cashes in this season for someone. Yeah. And Marvin Jones, a lot of people liked him before the injury. Maybe he can bounce back, second half of the season and kind of fulfill some of that promise he had to start the year.
Yeah, if he comes back strong from that injury, I think that he'll plug right back into that offense just fine.
And Fantasy Nomad says, Ingram, come on, man. I don't like Ingram. I just don't. I like Kyrie Robinson's game a lot better. Kyrie Robinson is also going to be sneaky in the passing game. This passing game last year, I believe, between Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles supported about, I think it was around 120, 130 total receptions between the two of them. Sproles is out of town now.
There's a lot to go around.
Yeah, there's a lot to go around. Kyrie Robinson is a sneaky PPR back. He can catch the ball well. I think he comes in, carries some of the lead back roles, and he can take some of those passes that Darren Sproles was getting. I just think it's a phenomenal pick. It's my steal of the draft, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, here come all the big, fast tight ends coming off. Jared Cook and Tyler Eifert, two guys who just big play machines.
Dennis Pitta in the 14th round is also a very interesting pick. A lot of people like Dennis Pitta. He came off the board after Kelsey and Dwayne Allen, which is a little surprising. Yeah. Pitta was considered an easy tight end one last year before he was injured. What do I win for the steal of the draft, says Roto Hobo. You get some PBR, my friend. You have to buy it yourself, though.
Drink up.
Yeah, you have to buy it yourself is the only thing. All right, PBR bet, says Fantasy Nomad. The Ginger Ninja coming off the round, high upside. I believe he finished last year, what is the 5th-ranked fantasy quarterback last season, I think?
Something in the top 10.
Yeah, he was inordinately good for a few games and then really bad. The highs were really high. The lows were really low. You just can't trust the guy.
No, me especially. I cannot trust the guy. But he has zero excuse. If we're talking about a guy who has a ton of weapons at his disposal, I should say, disposal. I can't talk. At his disposal. Andy Dalton has a ton. He should get it done this year and have a great year.
All right. Yeah, a little bit of confusion going on in the chat here. That's okay. Hey, look. Julio Tehran, 12 fantasy points. Okay. Only 1K through 4 innings. I said not to play him. I also said not to play Matt Shoemaker. Whoops. That one doesn't look like... Anyways, this is fantasy football. Got the stupid ticker going across at the bottom of the draft day screen. So, Christian Michael, I guess is his Christian
I know
name.
It's Christian, but it looks like Christine to me,
so
I still say Christine.
It's really hard to not say it. I'm telling you right now. Eric Ebron and Christian Michael, though, two players that I really like for their late upside coming off the board there. Hakeem Nicks, he's done. Stick a fork in him. I'd rather have Brian Hartline than Hakeem Nicks, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. Well, it definitely from you, as you used the word hate twice with Brian Hartline. So.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably use it 3 times with Hakeem Nicks then. Heath Miller, just good old Heath Miller, good old country boy, good old Heath Miller, coming off the board late. And we can tell that the picks are starting to become scarce as our experts are taking a little bit of extra time here to make their selections. I'm going to congratulate everybody right now, too, on not accidentally thinking it was just 14 rounds this time around. And it looks like, for the most part, everybody took their waited to take their kickers and their defenses, except who is this right here drafting?
Third.
Yeah, who's drafting third again? I don't have that up on my screen, but somebody went with the old Travis Coons, so there it is.
Yeah, we've got tight ends all over this 15th round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all in this round. So all the tight ends going off quickly here.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Rohoba says, "Yay! All right, I'll buy it. I'll just take one of your head-to-heads tomorrow and buy it with that." So, oh, geez, some smack talk going on there. Somebody has to catch the ball in Oakland, right? There you go, James Jones. I think that could be a sneaky pick too.
Yeah.
16th round, James Jones.
He had some big games.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Malcolm Floyd, I love in the 16th round as well.
Yeah, I mean, pair him up with Keenan Allen, and there's a ton to go around there. So Phil Rivers is going to be throwing the ball a lot, and Malcolm Floyd should be easily the number 2 wide receiver, and it's hard to say what you're getting out of the tight ends there. So he could be a sneaky play.
Roto says, "Yeah, but now I have 3 tight ends, and a 3 tight end team who goes quarterback early always wins, right?" Yeah, why not?
I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen that before. That's a pretty solid strategy, I've heard. So, yeah, about that. Panthers defense off the board. I'm expecting a little regression for them. I'm not the biggest fan of that pick. Dean, sorry to rain on your parade again, dude. I know you were begging me to say nice things, but not a big fan of the Panthers defense. I think they're due to take a step of regression this season. Same with the Chiefs. Not a huge fan of them either, but again, you got to take a defense in these later rounds. So, we're getting to the rounds now where a lot of players like to load up on multiple kickers and multiple defenses just to make sure they have interchangeable stuff on bye weeks, and you can also have a little bit of upside built into the package there.
Yeah, I mean, both those defenses had big years. I don't think the Chiefs come anywhere close to what they did last year, but I still think they'll be all right. I would prefer the Panthers.
Yeah,
the Panthers will still be solid.
There's no way Gallagher meant to take a kicker here, Project Roto. He probably just accidentally let it auto pick would be my guess, and it saw that the most needed position was kicker. So we almost got through the whole draft with no goof grabs. Unfortunately, Gallagher had to go and mess it up for everyone. That guy, let me tell you. Let me absolutely tell you. Andre Williams, a steal there. Very few players this late in the draft that you could actually say could legitimately be the starting running back for their team at the end of the year without an injury.
Yeah.
And Andre Williams is one of those guys. Chris Ivory, a decent grab here in the 16th round. Ryan Tannehill, a good high upside guy. And Kenny Stills is, I think, the dude not getting quite as much love as he should in that New Orleans offense. The big play guy who in best ball formats can give you a week or two that can help you, absolutely vault ahead in the standings. Being taken this far back behind Brandon Cooks is a little surprising to me because he is the one who has experience in this offense.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'll take on more of that Lance Moore role there with some deep balls and probably a lot more volume now too with less guys, less reliability, I guess, at wide receiver there.
And I see Gallagher says autoed. I wanted Andre Williams actually, and Project Roto says stick to basketball. So Michael Hopefield says turnover-prone division in my opinion outside of Denver. Yeah, I mean I can see that. That is true. Very very turnover-prone division.
Maybe the most in the NFL.
Nomad said debated between Williams and Michael Floyd. Look, Malcolm Floyd though is great in best ball because Malcolm Floyd is always going to give you 2 or 3 weeks where he catches a long one, a 60-yard touchdown pass, and he gives you some really solid production and gets into your top lineup.
Yeah.
So, I am good. I'm glad to see also somebody else agrees that the Cooks love. I own Brandon Cooks on 0 teams this year, and I will continue to own him on 0 teams this year. He's a rookie.
ADP.
4 out of every 5, Dennis recommended you use Trident, and 4 out of 5 rookies almost always fail. Those are just 2 things that are guaranteed in life: Trident and rookies failing. And I'm not going to be the guy that wastes a high pick on Brandon Cooks, especially when you can get Kenny Stills this late. If you want an auxiliary or a secondary piece of the New Orleans Saints offense, let's say you don't get Jimmy Graham or Marcus Colston or even Pierre Thomas, you want a piece of that passing game, just wait and take Kenny Stills as a flyer later in the draft. You don't need to take Brandon Cooks that early.
Yeah, I mean, that's true because he has actually gotten it done there before, and he's been in that offense. So maybe Cooks takes some time to adjust and get used to the playbook.
Yep, let's take a look. Looks like the defenses are flying off the board now. Not a whole lot of analysis to be given here because defenses continually reinvent themselves year after year. So it's really just going to be something we have to wait and see. Charles Clay, not a bad pick. Stevie Johnson, another one. How the mighty have fallen. This guy was a top 20 wide receiver a few years back. Remember, he busted out of nowhere off the waiver wire a couple of years ago. And I like the Tyquan Underwood pick, too. Kind of a sneaky wide receiver flyer this late. He's shown some promise at a few junctures in his career. Ben Roethlisberger, a good high-end quarterback. got taken really late. Great best ball guy. He's probably going to have a couple of weeks where he goes off for monster numbers, maybe rushes for a touchdown. So not bad there either.
I actually like him this year because, especially in the best ball, like you mentioned, with the Pittsburgh defense not being what it used to be, he's going to find himself behind in more games than he used to be behind in. So he's going to be airing the ball out and putting up some big numbers like he's been known to do in fourth quarters.
Yeah, and Roto Hobo says, a piece of that Kenny Stills ass, though. Yeah. You ain't kidding, man. That's some nice ass. I'll take some of that on the side, please. Nicki Minaj ain't got nothing on my anaconda when it comes to Kenny Stills. Is that too soon?
No.
Too far?
No, it's never too far. Not for me.
I thought it was fairly topical considering the release of her music video.
Yeah, I think it was appropriate.
I do. I think so as well. What? Really thought that was going to come out of Gaby's mouth? What? Kid and play. All right, let's see. Nothing really exciting going on anymore as people have to take kickers and defenses. I propose fantasy sports where we stop using kickers and defenses. How about that?
I like the defenses. I'm down with getting rid of kickers.
I don't like either. I mean, defense, there is some skill because you can look into some deeper metrics and see how this formation stacks up against what they run. Does the coaching staff make adjustments at halftime, et cetera, et cetera. Kicker, just get it out.
It's 100% guesswork.
Now, Josh McCown has some weapons to work with there in Tampa Bay. He showed he still had something left in the tank.
Yeah.
With Chicago this past year. Could be a great upside quarterback pick there, along with Joe Flacco. So yeah. I don't mind that at all. Do you?
No, McCown even considered retiring, but seemed like he had it. I mean, he did fine filling in for Cutler last year.
I would have loved it if he would have just walked off into the sunset with that as his high note.
He should have.
He should have. Just walked it off. Screw it. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Just tell the Bears, pick me or Cutler.
Yep.
Just give them that.
God, I hate fantasy nomads so much right now. Add punters.
Oh God.
I'm on tilt. I'm on complete tilt.
I'm in a fantasy league that has punters. It's 16 teams, and I absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate it.
Yeah. Ugh. Now you're gonna tell me we should do IDP.
No. God, no. I'm not a proponent of that or kickers. Anyone who kicks the ball. I know it's called football, but maybe they should change the name.
Yeah, Fantasy Nomad with a good point. Says, first year played all 16 games. Can he do it again? I do not think so. McCown has 4 guys to throw to over 6'4". Yeah, there goes back to the large wide receiver.
Yeah, big
debate.
Targets.
I've been taking McCown as my second high upside quarterback in my MFL 10s really late, and it's been working out well as far as I can tell. Because I think I have the best high upside one, considering how that passing game could turn out.
Yeah. Here come all the Pittsburgh backups there, rolling out of the back seat here in the 18th round.
Yeah. With Garrett Blunt, Chief Keef over here with Dree Archer. See.
Fantasy Nomad says, I'm down with IDP. You know me.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Good stuff.
Doug Baldwin, the 19th. I like that one a lot.
That's close to my steal of the draft.
Yeah,
I still like Kyrie Robinson in the 14th as my steal of the draft there. But that Doug Baldwin pick, that is super de-duper sexy.
Oh yeah.
From Liz Loza.
He could end up being a monster there. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that could be a great pick. Odell Beckham Jr., not to be confused with Steve Smith Sr. That might be his father, right? Is that how that works?
It must be.
Okay. Greg Zuerlein, Legatron.
Yeah?
Legatron.
If you're going to have a kicker, he's the sexiest one to have.
Yeah, best nickname in the NFL, Legatron.
Yep.
And just by far. If Tavon Austin could do anything other than run fast when people are at least run fast when there are at least people 5 yards away from him, he would be decent. But I don't know. That's a good high upside pick though there. So I'm willing to give it that. Dean, I am willing to say very nice pick.
Yeah, well, didn't he have one game where he touched the ball 3 times and scored 3 different ways? Wasn't it a kick return, a rush, and a reception late in the season?
Yeah, something like that. Let's see. Fantasy Nomad says that's after he drafts Manziel.
Who's Manziel?
Is Manziel off the board?
You mean Brian Hoyer's son?
Yeah. Did anybody draft Johnny Manziel? Is nobody taking Johnny Mother Effin football?
Do not take Johnny Mother Effin football.
Oh my gosh, somebody has to take him. Somebody please don't subject me to this. Don't make me lose it and go completely bonkers. Somebody take Johnny F in football.
Jason Campbell's a better backup.
What?
I knew that'd get a rise.
Get out of here. Seriously, get out of here. You're in my office. Leave.
I'm out.
Taking an awful lot of time there to figure out who you want as your kicker.
Kicker rankings are interesting,
There we
Project
go.
says. I have never seen kicker rankings.
Kicker rankings.
I'll be honest.
Right? Chandler Catanzaro? Who is that? I have no. Is that someone in the kicker pool? Sounds like a kicker.
It's got to be.
Sounds like the name of a kicker. Definitely sounds like somebody. That's something a kicker would do, be named that.
Yep.
JFF on the board still. Can we get him, please? Please, somebody take Johnny F in football.
Please don't. Make him Mr. Irrelevant. Whoever has the last pick, I'm looking at you, Josh.
You don't
do it.
You don't understand the depths of the tilt that I will fall into if Johnny F in football is not selected in this draft.
And I hope that happens because I'll get to witness it firsthand. Take Ryan Hoyer.
Project Roto says Tavon Austin might be the steal of the draft. Yeah.
He says especially in best ball. Yeah, I mean his upside's huge. You can't rely on him, but you wouldn't need to in best ball. So he's got a point.
And Rifo says guys are buried on the list, and all I can say to that is plan ahead.
Yeah.
Scroll through the list, my friend. No excuses. You're an expert. This is the NFL expert mock draft.
Justin Tucker.
If you would like me to put the words amateur in front of it next time, I would gladly do so. And
amateur expert.
You can take as much time as you want finding a kicker.
You can make it a pro-am.
A pro-am? Can I pair up with one of you guys, please?
Yeah.
I'd love to. That'd be phenomenal. What are these names that are getting thrown out?
This has got to be the kicker list.
Catanzaro, Cairo Santos, Andrew. I don't care. Just you guys know who the kickers are in these 30 teams. Just
look at that. Josh coming through said he needs a kicker more than he needs Johnny Football because at least the kicker will play.
No, God. If you do it, I swear we're not friends anymore. Do not take a kicker. Oh my gosh. Let's see. How do these guys have points per game? Because we include place kickers.
Yeah.
I have no idea. All right. Cool.
Alex Smith's usually good for a 1-4 touchdown game every year, so
yeah,
he's not a bad play there.
Yeah, definitely. There we go.
Oh no.
Johnny F in football. Mr. the Tony M taking him off the board for me. Thank you. After Alex Smith, too. What a kick.
In the last round where he belongs.
You might hate him. You might despise him. But I'm banking on the fact that all of you are intelligent, reasonable humans.
Except for me.
And if you are an intelligent, reasonable human being, you understand that by midseason, Johnny Manziel will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Whether he earns it or not. He will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I can't argue that, and I'm glad that you gave the stipulation whether he earns it.
Well, how can he earn it now? He's on the sidelines. He's on the bench. He can't earn it.
But he won't need to because he's hyped.
Yeah,
the hype earned it for him.
Sam Bradford's a good steal here in the last round too.
Yeah,
I think Sam Bradford could actually be sneaky good this year.
Yeah. So. I saw someone was writing on Twitter how Sam Bradford looks like he's ready to take the next step, but the Rams' offense is not.
He just needs to watch out it's not down a flight of stairs with as much as he gets injured.
Yeah.
Next step for Sam Bradford, right down the
stairs.
stairs.
Buy a ranch.
Yeah. Looks like everybody else is having a decent time finding their kickers. I'm glad you could all figure out where they are. If anybody wants to complain about finding a kicker, please just go ahead and submit a support email to DraftDay, and we'll get that taken care of for you. You'll receive a reply within 24 hours. That's what I'm always told.
Yeah.
So, looks like we're coming down the home stretch. Roto Hobo says, I love that he took him behind Alex Smith just because he could. He wanted Alex's name on the board, one round ahead of JFF. Yeah, that does leave me a little salty, but still. JFF is off the board. Everything is right with the universe. I can sleep easier tonight.
Until week 5. And then the world explodes once again.
Jake Locker, another steal of a quarterback there in the last round. If Jake Locker could ever have an iota of accuracy to his passing, he's got the weapons. Delaney Walker, Justin Hunter, Kendall Wright, Nate Washington. He's got a potent receiving core. If he could just get the ball where it needs to be any farther than 10 yards downfield.
Yeah, if he just gets some patience, because it seems like he just gives up and just takes off too often.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the mock draft. Thank you very much for hanging out with us here today. Lots of awesome picks happening, going all the way around. We will be back here again for one final mock draft next week on Thursday before the NFL season kicks off, so join us then. Thank you to all of our experts. Peace out.